If you read anything about the program and my background, it talks about certain achievements that I have been blessed to do. And honestly, and those achievements would not have been possible had my parents taken me as a child anywhere else but to the United States. Those achievements have been primarily in the business sector and in the area of philanthropy. But it can be very misleading if you believe everything that you read. And I'll share with you what is never written about me. I consider myself mediocre at most things that I do. I'm just tenacious about it. But I don't excel at many things. When I was in high school, I was a C student at best. So for those students that are out there that you doubt your future, you question your abilities, don't allow anyone to define who you will be someday. Only you can do that. I went to college one semester, and then I left never to go back. So I did not graduate from college. Most of you here, possibly all of you, are better formally educated than I am. Well, I was in the Army. I was promoted 3 times. I was demoted twice. I crashed my first car the first day that I bought it. Thank God it was a used car. Because of an immigrant mentality where I had to provide, I gave all to my career, and it cost me 2 marriages. It was not until the 3rd one that I got it right, and I've been married now for 21 years with 5 wonderful children. I have failed at starting 27 companies. And I have said I have failed because not one of them turned out to be the day that it was sold what I thought it was going to be the day that I started it. No one really remembers your failures. They remember your success. Only we remember what we failed at. And at times we work very hard at forgetting about our failures when we should not. It is deep in each of those failures that we find ourselves and the strength that we have. It is those failures that will define who you are. Those shortcomings who will give you a backbone to face the next battle. And luckily, we all live in a country that encourages each of us every time we fall to stand up again, as long as we have the courage to stand up. We don't lose until we quit. Quitting should never be in someone's vocabulary. Although I talked to you about my C student grades, which nothing to be proud of. My parents all thought I was an A student. But although I was a C student, I was able to provide scholarships. And today, I provide more scholarships to the Catholic school in New York City. Since 1847, I wasn't there at the time when it was started, than anyone else. Although I only won 1 semester to college, I have 3 doctorate degrees, honorary doctorate degrees, and 1 honorary master's degree. Although I failed in many things, I have found myself to be defined by the things to others that I succeeded at, not the things that actually made me who I am today. I started a company in Tampa back in 1993 after selling a company in Coral Gables, Florida. That company grew over the next 9 years from 0 employees to 630, I think it is, when we sold it to a Mary Group. And it is surprising that the billboard that you put up with my face in it around Tampa, I received over 24 calls from people that work with me at that company, including one who was the receptionist, and then I remember her going to finance, and she's now the president of a large HMO in the state of Florida. So there's hope. There's willingness to allow each of us to open the door and walk through if we have the courage to push our way through. Sometimes it's not easy, but be daring. Daring to do what others don't think you can do. You will be surprised at the satisfaction that you would get. While I was in the Army, I mentioned that I was one semester in college. Well, the reason I only lasted one semester is because I received a draft notice to go into the service. And to me, being an immigrant, draft notice to me was an obligation. I was being forced to do something. And I did not want to dishonor my father and my mother by being forced to serve my country. So instead, I volunteered. Instead of serving 2 years, I served 4. My biggest fear was heights, so I became a paratrooper. I am as much afraid of heights today as I was back then. But I was able to manage those fears. And that taught me how to manage businesses. Because risk is not gambling. Taking risk is about managing something. It's managing the downside. But if you're not taking risks to where you feel nervous about it, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. Be daring. Take risk. Surprises come to all of us from the most unlikely places. Mine came at 1,250 feet out of a door of a C-130 aircraft. There was a guy named Jack Michelle. He was in my company, and he was about 6 people ahead of me, closer to the door than I was when I jumped. Except, since he jumped first, he should have been further down than I was. When I looked up and I saw Jack at the same level as I was, I thought I had a problem. I looked up and noticed my parachute was not open. Training is a wonderful thing if you let the trainers train you. I don't remember opening the reserve parachute. It opened around 200 to 300 feet from what I'm told. I landed, broke both ankles, and to this day I have 5 herniated discs. So the only exercise that I can really do is walk and swim. But at age 19, an incredibly beautiful thing happened to me. And I am so grateful because it's what got me here today. At age 19, I knew I was terminal. I knew I was going to die. And I knew that whatever plans I had that morning were almost ended at 3 o'clock that day. It changed my life. It allowed me to focus on some realities about myself. I have ADD in a big way, to the point that I've been married twice. But it allowed me to change the way I live that is very different from what they teach us in school. We're always taught in business, do a 1-year plan, a 2-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan. What is your 10-year plan? I have lived my whole life on a 7-day plan. I cannot focus beyond 7 days. Of the 27 companies that I started, 25 have succeeded and were sold for $3.8 billion. But not because I was smart. It was because I was persistent. And because I was surrounded by people that were smarter than I was. Today, we live in this community of Tampa, where I spent a wonderful 9.5 years. And as I flew over before landing at the airport, it's better than landing in the water, Mayor. It has grown tremendously. What a beautiful city you have. I know that there are incredible dreams out here, primarily from young people that are here today from college and from high school. And I encourage you, don't allow anyone to define who you are. Dream bigger. You know, that touches a point that I want to go back to. So Speaker Weatherford and I have been friends for many years. And as a Cuban American, I don't know how it happened, but 21 years ago, I met Shimon Peres, the former president and statesman from Israel. So Will was invited to go to Israel and said to me, you know, Mike, next time you go, I'll tag along with you, just to see it from your perspective. So we land in Tel Aviv. We go directly to the Shimon Peres Peace Foundation building, and there is the former president, former statesman, former prime minister of Israel, and Will asked him a question. So we're sitting, the three of us, by ourselves, and he's sitting back on his chair, and Will says, Mr. President, do you have any regrets? And he leaned back and said to Will, regrets? Yes, Mr. President. Do you have any regrets? Now, keep in mind that this man didn't graduate from high school, became the prime minister of a country twice, president, a world statesman, studied physics in his 30s to bring nuclear power from France into Israel, which today Israel still denies that they have. So this man who could be, there's nothing more I could thought that he would want to accomplish. And he looked back at Will and pulled himself forward on his chair and said, I should have dreamt bigger. Right, Will? I should have dreamt bigger. Don't cut yourself short. Don't sell yourself short. Dream bigger and fail. I dare you to fail, because that is where you will find your success. Thank you.